All right, boys and girls, this is Cab, and I am here to help assist and get you ready for the BWL practice raid this evening. So, what I need you to do is the first thing, go ahead and check the Aggression Chat Discord, and I have pinned some very important messages. I have pinned the download instructions, the IP address of the private server, the download link, like the reliable download link, and the add-ons link, right? So let's go ahead and start with the download link. We're going to hit download. It's going to take a little bit, whatever time that you need. I've already downloaded the game client, but you would click download anyway. Once that's done, go ahead and browse to where you downloaded it from. I like to set up a folder to extract to beforehand, so I set up a folder called WoW, and then I extracted my game client to this folder. So if you go to downloads and you've already set that folder up, you just right click. I highly recommend installing WinRAR, the program, before you do this because I prefer WinRAR to like a Windows default extractor. I find it much easier to use. Once you've downloaded your file, whatever, if you've got 7-zip, if you've got unzip, if you've got WinRAR, whatever program you use, most of them are the same. You right click, the option should show up, go into its options, and then hit extract files. Your goal is to extract that folder into the same folder that you previously set up. You can name this folder whatever you want. There's no case sensitivity or there's no specific requirement that it has to be named. So then hit OK, it will extract to that folder. Now go ahead and go to that folder, go into your client. I highly recommend setting up a shortcut right now. Depending on your OS, just right clicking should show you some sort of link to create shortcut. If it doesn't, it show more options if you're using Windows 10 or Windows 11. And then you should see a create shortcut right here. Create that shortcut, rename it to something like Rise Private is a good idea. Then just drag this. You can cut this and then paste it to your desktop. And just go ahead and paste it to your desktop, which will put that shortcut right here, and now you can easily access it. Launch it once, kind of to get it going and create all your config files. When you launch it, you'll probably get a cinematic. Once that's done, just close out of it and then go back to your folder. The first thing that we need to do is now once you're back into that folder, right? Go in this PC, see, for me it's WoW, and then into the Elysium project game client. You should see a file called realmlist.wtf. We need to edit this to have the IP server IP of the private server that we maintain. So just go ahead and right click it and edit in Notepad. You may have some different options here depending on your OS. You may need to go to show more options and open. You may need to just right click and hit open with Notepad. If Windows default opens, config files with Notepad already, you may just be able to get away with just hitting open. But mostly, or what I probably just recommend is going to the open with option and hitting Notepad. You're going to want to match your file to exactly how my file is set up here. The instructions in the pinned instructions will have this, right? So it says deletes whatever there, set realm list. You can just follow these instructions if you want. I'm just making this video guide to make it easier for people who struggle a little bit with written instructions. And once you've opened this file and deleted the lines that are there, then go ahead and just replace it with this specific line. And once you've done that, you're going to hit File and Save, and you're going to close this file out. You won't have to edit that file again. A good idea right now to close everything out, hit your shortcut, launch your game. We've already created a profile for you. It should be your in-game name, and the password is Rise. All right, everything your in-game name lowercase and RISE, username and password. When you get to this point, you may see something like suggest realm or pick a server. Just hit OK blah, 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 suggest realm. It'll take you to the right place. Once you're there, go ahead and enter in on your character. Make sure that you can get logged in. If you have a problem at this point, message an officer in Discord, someone like myself, and we will see what's going on. We may need to create that account for you or figure something else out. But most everybody's account should work up until this point. Now, I would recommend exiting resolution because you're probably going to notice that your resolution sucks. And if you check the instructions, you're going to see these three lines, right? So to fix your resolution, all I got to do is go back to your WoW folder and your game client, and you're going to go to the WTF folder. And once you're there, you're going to right click the config file and again open with Notepad, right? Now you'll notice that the set GX resolution is already there. Just change that to your monitor's default resolution. A good way to find that is just kind of come to your display settings in your Windows thing. So right click anywhere on your desktop and hit display settings. It should show you right here your display resolution. So mine is 1920 by 1080. That's the recommended for the system. When I came in here, I matched that. You just changed 1920 by 1080. You're also going to want to add these two variables. These variables won't be here. You're going to want to add them. You can copy them from the instructions individually. These two, you can copy these two and just copy and paste them in there. Or you can manually type them in. Doesn't really matter. Then save this file and exit it out. Relaunch your private server client. And you should not have to make any other config changes to any config files past that. Log into your character, and you will spawn in at a place called GM Island. And this is kind of like the Matrix loading scene where you get all prepared for whatever else is needed. Let me kind of walk you through what each of these vendors do. This will give you a default spec. So you can pick, I mean, if you use a default spec, a lot of people don't. For me, example, I would do like Reso Swiftmen PvE. But I just went ahead and went to my Druid trainer and respect because I play Moonglow. So you can come over here, wish to unlearn your talents, unlearn your spec, and then respec manually. Standard thing, hit up N, your spec sheet comes up. But it's very important to visit this guy and get a spec because he will give you your spells. So you may notice when you first come in, your spells might not be in your spell book. So that's why it's really important to visit this guy. The next guy to visit is your pre-made gear guy. Go ahead and click, whatever if you're a tank or you're a heal, hit that thing. It'll give you a default amount of gear. Any gear you don't need, you can delete. I will say here the intent or the requirement that we were asking of you is to set your gear up as it is to be expected on the day that on March 6th when we go raid BWL. So cauterizing band, if you don't have it yet, but you think you're gonna get it by then, go ahead and put that on your character. But if you can't, or if it's tier three shit, obviously we're not gonna have access to tier three shit, or um, the twin glaives of Asimov or etc. So just make sure that you visit this guy, get your basic set of gear, and you can get set gear from your class guy, whichever one is your class over here. He's going to have tier one, tier two, tier three stuff in here by whatever you think is necessary. Uh, you can also, that's everything you need from him. If you have any spells that haven't been learned, you can just double check the train me section. We also have a weapon skill guy, so make sure to train your weapon skills and then check when you do that your skills category and make sure that your skills say 300 to 300. If they don't, we as admins, you can message any officer, me, Puck, Chambers, and we can do a command on you called max skill like this, and that will ensure that you have your things, but you're going to have to ask one of the officers to do that because that's just a GM command that we have. You can also visit a riding trainer if you want to make sure you have your riding skill. So your class guy plus the riding and weapon trainer are important over here. There's a training dummy here if you want to check your rotation, see how hard you're hitting. You've got a training dummy right there. These vendors are for like melee weapons. There's caster weapons, ranged weapons, things that aren't in your set pieces. You've also got some like offset stuff. So if you're looking for cloaks, rings, wrists, things that aren't in tier sets, these guys have most of that stuff available. Not everything will be available, and that's fine. And I'll show you what to do about that. Make sure you visit this miscellaneous guy. You can get mana pots, health pots, food, FAPs, invisibility potions. Very important to get at least 10, 15 invisibility potions. Get a couple swiftness potions. Get some FAPs. Make sure that you have those in your inventory, and you can get your regions from here as well. Then coming back up to the other side of the island, we've got these guys, the goblins. One is frost resistance gear. You don't have to worry about that guy. You can look up head and leg enchants here. Use any of the arcanums that are appropriate to your class or your role. You can get your enchants here, like greater stats to chest. You can get your main hand. I use healing to main hand. You can get all of those from him. Professions, make sure to learn engineering, and then whatever other profession you would like. Also, first aid, cooking, fishing, to make sure that you have your professions. There's an auctioneer, a banker, and a stable master over here if you need them. Don't forget around this corner, you can come into here. This guy's pretty important. This is your world buff guy. He's going to tell you you're a wizard. Wizard, Eric. And if you click the I'm a what, he will refresh your world buffs. Go ahead and click off Spirit of Zandalar. We won't have access to Spirit of Zandalar on raid day, so you don't want to have it on you when we go to practice. This guy over here is a teleporter, and he will give you the ability to teleport to major areas anywhere that we're going. We can also summon you around the map, so don't worry too much about how you're going to get to BWL because we will probably just summon you into the instance. Mm, your Hearthstone is going to be set to GM Island. Leave it to GM Island in case you need to come back. Otherwise, I've got to manually teleport you there, and that gets annoying. You're going to want to make sure to get an Onyxia Scale Cloak. So you'll notice that not every item that you may need or every consumable that you may need is available from these vendors. It's a very easy fix. Go ahead and just go to Wowhead. And when you go to Wowhead and search for an item, like Flask of Supreme Power, for example, when you click that item in the URL, which this is the uniform resource locator, in the web URL ID, you're going to notice something that says item number equals X, right? All I need you to do is message one of the officers, like myself, Huck, or Chambers. XO also has privileges. You're just going to shoot us a message with the ID that you want, whatever that number is, and the amount. That way we can manually add that item to your inventory, right? You have make sure that you have inventory or space, like bag space. Believe me, delete the shit you don't need. I mean, even if it's cool stuff, just delete it. If it's not something you're using for raid, just delete it and keep it out of your bags. When you do that, we can spawn whether it's a consumable or an item, we can spawn it into your bag. That way that you have it. Now that you have your spells and your gear and everything set up, you can set up your action bars. You come into interface options. I highly recommend clicking hide party interface and raid. Most people do that. You can show extra action bars over here. You're going to want to start setting up your bars however you need it. Just your most basic stuff. You don't need everything. This is to learn pathing and to learn the skips that we're going to do. So 7 different versions of your down ranks or whatever. That's not really stupid necessary. You'll notice I have some add-ons installed. I'll show you the add-ons that I have installed. The only way to do that is at this tab. You can go to add-ons. So I have a boss mod add-on installed. I have a damage meter. I have the cursive, and I have custom unit frames, target frames, and player frames, and raid frames. I will show you where to get add-ons that are compatible with this client of the game. I have it pinned in Discord. You can check the pin messages in the progression channel, and you'll see this URL, which is called Legacy WoW Vanilla Add-ons, and you can search for whatever kind of add-ons that you need. I would highly suggest getting Bigwigs. Just try Boss. Go ahead and I would highly suggest Bigwigs. If you need a raid frame manager, if you need a damage meter, if you need decursive, whatever else is you need, you can go ahead and get those things from here. Once you've downloaded it, you can go because it doesn't work like CurseForge, right? So once you've downloaded the add-on, go ahead and go to it, right click it, go to your extract process, hit extract files or whatever it is for you, and extract it to your game folder, interface, add-ons. And that is exactly where that folder needs to go. And it should look like this when you extract it. When you finally extract it to that directory, make sure that you don't put an extra folder in here between the data in the add-on folder and whatnot. So you should just have the add-on folder and then the data that goes in that add-on folder. Sometimes it screws up, but it might put like you might come into the bigwigs folder and see bigwigs depending on how you extracted it, and then it won't work. So you just need to make sure that you don't have a nested directory in between the interface add-ons folder and the game director and the game or the add-on data is what it is. Well, that's all it is to add-ons. You will have to totally exit the client and re-enter the client to load an add-on. That's just the way this old client works. And just thinking over any other kind of majors you need. Oh, to set up raid frames, if you're using default raid frames, once you've been added to a raid group, you can just click and drag the raid frames out for group or for class or group. I personally use Xpearl for this. Is what I used back in vanilla. Personally, I like it a little bit better. I will say what you may not be used to. You probably won't see a lot of these circles, which allow you to get options. You're often going to have to find the invoke command, like for Xpearl example, it's /Xpearl, and that opens up my Xpearl options. If you are having trouble finding a way to invoke your add-on settings, just Google how do I invoke decursive or how do I invoke whatever the add-on name is, and you will be able to do that. Make sure to set your action bars up, set macros up if you really need them. You may need to look for older macros or like Elysium specific macros, dependent on your class. And that should be all that you need to be ready for practice raids. Good luck, and I will see you in BWL.